Killing Floor 3 has been out for a couple weeks now, and I've been playing it non-stop, almost to the point where I had to force myself to leave my sweaty, greasy gamer chair and go outside. I've honestly had a blast so far on Killing Floor 3 in both solo and multiplayer. However, I've been getting a bit burned out on the game. Some may say that this is a symptom of playing the game constantly, but I really don't think it's that. For as fun of a game as Killing Floor 3 is, there's a couple of glaring issues that really overshadow all of its good qualities. And of course, this video is not just going to be me whining and crying about the things I don't like about a game that I actually enjoy, as I will talk about the things that I did like about the game. But really, it's mostly just going to be whining and crying, I'm not going to lie to you. As always, when watching someone complain about something on the internet, you need to remember that it's their own opinion, and if you'd like to form your own opinion, then I recommend playing the game for yourself. If you'd like to do that, then you can follow the link in the description to GAMESPLANET.com and also use the discount code appearing on screen to get the game at a discounted price. This not only allows you to get the game without completely breaking the bank, but it also allows you to support this channel and help me continue making videos like this one. But that's enough yap. Let's talk about Killing Floor 3. So I thought I'd start off this video by talking about the things I actually like about the game, and that's the gunplay, combat, and general gameplay. At its core, Killing Floor 3 is a round-based horde mode game that sees either a solo player or a group of 6 players surviving through 5 rounds of progressively more difficult enemies until they reach the final boss wave. In between each wave, there's a certain amount of time that you can use to invest your points into either new and better guns, restocking and upgrading your armor, or resupplying your ammo. The way that you earn points is pretty simple. You just kill the enemies in each round, and the more enemies you kill, the more points you'll get. This game also has a specialist system.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, nobody likes this. The specialists, from what I can gather, are a system of perks from previous games that have now been locked down to specific characters. So if you want to use the commando's drone with the ninja, well, sorry to tell you, that's not happening. However, in a rare case of game developers actually listening to their fans, this is going to be fixed in a future update, which will allow you to use any perk with any character, removing the restriction completely. The combat itself is something that I have nearly no complaints about as well. All of the weapons in the game feel amazing, with the exception of a couple I didn't like, and the enemies feel really good to fight. While there isn't a massive amount of enemies that you'll see here, there is certainly a lot of fun to be had while fighting them. The gore effects and the reactions to your weapons that they display just makes everything so impactful and so satisfying. I do feel like sometimes in co-op that there isn't enough enemies about, and yeah, the game technically does spawn in hundreds of enemies each round, but with 6 players and fairly large maps, this kinda makes it feel a little bit empty sometimes. Often, people end up splitting up, which kinda diverts all of the monsters away and makes it so that some areas just have nothing going on. And if you're unfortunate enough to be left on the side of the map where there's nothing going on, by the time you get to where things are happening, oftentimes every enemy is dead and you can't really get any points. In all honesty, the biggest problem with Killing Floor 3 is that there's just simply not enough content. By the time it gets to the boss wave, you're kinda just left there thinking, is it over already? A game will usually take about 20 to 30 minutes, which is a decent amount of time, but there's only a selection of maps and literally no other game modes. And if I can be honest, it gets a little bit boring after a while. Of course, things like the skill tree, the weapon unlocks, and the ability to play with friends kind of give it a little bit more replay value, but I really feel like that's not enough to keep most people coming back to the game. Many of us have busy lives, and a lot of us can't really play with our friends that often. So then you're left with the other replayability features, which is basically just grinding through levels, which in the end is just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that doesn't really solve the real issue, like I said a minute ago, the lack of maps and the lack of modes. Obviously, the game's going to receive DLC and new maps and new updates in the future, but the main thing I think that Killing Floor 3 really needs to keep people coming back is the ability to beat your high score. I'll be honest and say, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into when I got this game. All I knew is that it was a co-op survival horde mode game and that it looked really fun. So imagine my shock when I boot the game up and there's no endless mode.
Where are they? Where are they?
I was vaguely aware that previous games in the series had an endless mode in it, so I just kind of expected it. I think the issue of having a lack of content would pretty much nearly be completely solved by just having this one mode. And now, before I make this next point, I do need to brace you. Anybody who disregards this opinion without playing the game I'm talking about, or just hates on it because it's popular, can get out right now. The reason why Call of Duty Zombies remains so popular to this day, whilst it only offers a couple maps with each new release, is not only because of its great combat loop, but because of how addictive it is to try and beat your highest round. Fundamentally, Zombies is pretty similar to Killing Floor. Every time there's a new round-based Zombies release, I am addicted to it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that's a feeling that I really want to have with Killing Floor. I love this game's combat loop, I love all of the systems in it. But when you're doing the same 5 rounds and the same boss fights over and over again, it just gets stale. In all honesty, this video has been delayed because I've just been getting burned out on the game. So I hope with future updates we can either see more content added, or at the very least, an endless mode. Speaking of burning out, I think my PC is actually going to burn out if I play one more game like this. Now this isn't technically a problem with the game itself, more so a problem with the engine it's running on. Unreal 5 just sucks. I've not played a single game on this engine that has run well. All of them have had some sort of stuttering, visual glitches, or just low frame rates. I'm not even joking when I say, I literally have to use DLSS frame generation with this game. If I don't, then in some areas the game will drop below 70 FPS. Granted, I am recording at the same time, but for a game that graphically looks like it came out 5 years ago, this is unacceptable. But Beansprout, you defended using frame generation when it came to Doom the Die Cages. Why is Killing Floor 3 any different? The reason it's different is because Doom the Die Cages looks incredible. It looks like a game that came out in 2025. Killing Floor 3 looks like a game that came out in 2020. And somehow, even with frame generation off in Die Cages, I still get a higher frame rate on that game than I do on Killing Floor 3. It wouldn't even be that bad if this game just didn't have that slight stuttering problem. I don't know if you can see it in the recording, but every now and then the game just stutters about and it makes it such a headache to play. This has nearly led to me dying multiple times just because I didn't know what was going on because the game was stuttering about. It is dreadfully distracting and I really hope they fix this soon. I can't comment on how the game performs on console because I'm not playing this game on console, but for the PC release at least, this needs to be fixed soon. At the end of the day though, after all the complaints I have about the game, after everything that kind of ruined the experience for me, I was still able to look past this stuff, and I genuinely did really have a good time with this game. And for only around £35 in the UK, I think it's an okay deal. I think it would have been a better deal if the game had a little bit more time in the oven, or a couple more modes, but if you can stomach waiting for updates, or just getting the game at a discounted price, then I really recommend trying it for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend clicking on one of them that are appearing on screen right now. And of course, don't be afraid to check out Killing Floor 3 on GAMESPLANET.com, using the link in the description and the discount code appearing on screen. If you'd like to support the channel directly, then you can always become a channel member, which will offer you some exclusive perks. But as always, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.